Hello everyone, Sidewin here. As promised, since the video on implements got a total of the number of likes I had previously said, I'm going to be covering Thaumaturge implements up to a higher level of proficiency. So the second level of proficiency of implements you get as a Thaumaturge is the Adept level, given at level 7. Alongside gaining these additional abilities on top of the abilities granted by the implements originally, to see those I recommend you watch my first video in this series. Then you also get a second implement at level 7. This can be any of the implements listed, and you get both abilities for both implements rather than just getting the first level for the second one. So, like the prior video, I'm going to be going through each of the options individually and talking a little bit about them. Most of these are extensions of previously given abilities, because they are, of course, upgrades to what you already have. Okay, so the amulet essentially just upgrades the ability already given, in that it gives your ally resistance 5 versus the triggering damage type until the start of your next turn. So this means that if the ally gets hit more than once, then the damage resistance could be applied to each attack rather than just to the first one, which is what you get with the first level ability. So this essentially just makes it a better support ability. The bell is similar to the amulet in that it just completely extends the current ability, and in the bell's case, it just makes it last 3 rounds rather than just 1 round. The chalice is a little more complicated, but essentially, whenever an ally or yourself within 30 feet of you takes a critical hit, which deals slashing or piercing damage. It does not apply for bludgeoning or fire damage or anything else. Or if the ally is experiencing persistent bleed damage. It has to be bleed damage, not persistent fire damage, for example. Then the benefits provided by drinking or sipping from the chalice gives additional benefits. So for the sip action, it changes the amount given to 2 plus charisma modifier plus level temporary hit points. Usually it just gives your half of your level and I think it's a flat plus 2. You can check me on that. Then drain gives 5 hit points per level you have, rather than the default, which is 3 hit points per level you have. So essentially it lets you counteract a critical hit effectively very quickly. The lantern is another upgrade of the base. Basically, the way the lantern worked to begin with is you have a radius of 20 feet bright light and 20 foot dim light beyond that lets you see things better within the radius. This upgrade gives you a ability to see all invisible and ethereal creatures within the light. However, they are concealed, meaning that you don't just get to completely counteract invisibility. You just get to see them easier, which means you can hit them at all, rather than being unable to. It also lets you be aware of all creatures on the ethereal plane within the range of the lantern light. These abilities do not apply if they are slightly out of the range, so be aware of that as you're using this. So the mirror essentially upgrades the mirroring yourself ability it already gave, except it makes it so that whenever one of the two is injured, then it explodes and you are put into the other one's space. The explosion deals slashing damage equal to 2 plus half of your level, or the damage of the triggering attack, whichever is lower. So if the attack dealt 6 damage and you are level 9, then half level is 5 plus 2 is 7, but the attack dealt 6 damage, so you will deal 6 damage. Whereas if you're lower level, then it will more likely apply the damage of the attack. You are immune to this damage, so if your mirror selves are placed close to each other, then you do not take damage from the fact that you took damage. The Regalia gives an even higher bonus on charisma skills as previously granted, and its aura now provides +1 against all mental attacks rather than just versus fear effects, and everyone within the aura gains a +2 bonus to damage. This is a basic support ability and is not especially complex. So the Tome. The Tome again just gives more bonuses to recall knowledge. So at the start of each of your turns while you're holding the Tome, you can recall knowledge about a creature which you can observe. And you gain a +1 to attack versus it if you succeed on the recall knowledge check. Additionally, the temporary skill proficiencies previously granted by the Tome are now Expert and Master at level 7. At level 9, it becomes 2 skills which you have Master in, and you can swap up those day to day. So essentially, it lets you prepare what you need for the day. So if you're going into a dungeon, you could prepare Thievery to disarm traps, but if you're talking to a bunch of people, you could prepare Diplomacy and Intimidation. The Wand. This, essentially, I may have slightly misphrased the first level, I forget, but it only gives one type of damage which you can use initially. This gives you a second type of damage which you can use. And additionally, whenever the enemy takes damage from the wand's attacks, then there's now a rider effect. That is the adept benefit. So for cold, it gives -10 feet to speed for 1 round to the enemy. So this could make it harder for them to get away from a pursuing ally. For electricity, the enemy is flat-footed until your next turn. So this could benefit any rogues in the party because the rogue could then deal sneak attack damage versus the enemy. The last one is fire. It adds 1d10 persistent fire damage, 2d10 on a crit fail. If you have a certain feat, this damage is doubled. That feat is called Wand Paragon Benefit. So the last one is the weapon. The weapon implement upgrades the action Implements Interruption, which is the first level benefit of the weapon implement. Essentially, whenever you miss with this attack of opportunity type feature, then you deal 1 damage of the weapon's type. This 1 damage can provoke weaknesses which the enemy has. So for instance, if the enemy is weak to bludgeoning damage and you hit them with mace, then you deal damage equal to 1, plus their weakness to bludgeoning damage, rather than just dealing 1 damage. That is all of the features granted at this level. I will be continuing this up until the level 9 benefits later this week. Thank you for watching. I hope this helped.